Hi friends, we're going to check in on our science fair project to see how it's doing. Today I am outside because over the weekend I took our bean plants and I put them in bigger pots, and I also started to move them outside during the day so they can get plenty of sunlight and grow a little bigger. If you're following along with us using an observation map, go ahead and get that ready. We're going to go through one at a time. You'll draw a picture of the plant and then write how big it is. Let's start with number 1, which is our lima bean plant. This is what our lima bean plant looks like today. It's getting very big and very kind of a curly shape. It doesn't have as many leaves at the bottom as it used to. You can even see that the seed pod that used to be there is kind of going away. But more of its leaves are at the top. It has quite a few leaves at the top, and they are kind of these long, skinny triangle shapes. I'm also noticing the beginning of some new leaves at the top, and it's definitely starting to want to vine and climb things. So go ahead for number 1 and draw your picture of the lima bean plant. And as you are working on your drawing, I'm going to go ahead and measure this plant. And our lima bean plant is 38 centimeters. So next to number 1 in your picture, we're going to write 38 centimeters for our lima bean plant. All right, let's take a look at number 2 next. Number 2 is our Kentucky Wonder. This one was the biggest one last week. It's still very big. It's just a little more sideways than it is up and down. It's definitely wanting to try to vine and grab onto something. One thing that's interesting about this plant that I noticed is that the leaves almost have like a heart shape to them. There's 2 big heart-shaped leaves at the bottom, and then there's a couple of more wing-shaped leaves at the top, and then the last part of the plant is kind of interesting. We have like a long vine coming out of the top. So it's very, very long, but not so long up and down, more long side to side. It's kind of growing in kind of a curvy shape. So go ahead for number 2 and draw your picture of your Kentucky Wonder plant. And while you're working on your picture, I'm going to go ahead and measure. And from top to bottom, our Kentucky Wonder plant is 45 centimeters. So far this one is the biggest, and it has stayed the biggest for a while. All right, so that was number 2, our Kentucky Wonder. Now let's take a look at number 3, asparagus bean. Now I do have to tell you something about our asparagus bean. Sometimes when the plants get transplanted, they don't always do as well in a different pot, and this is what happened with all of the asparagus plants that I transplanted. And this just sometimes happens with certain plants. It wasn't as hardy of a plant, and so it didn't do as well in this type of soil. I'm still going to measure it anyways, but for your picture you might want to show that it's kind of drooping and it's not doing so well, our poor asparagus plant. Go ahead for number 3 and draw a quick picture. While I measure. And our asparagus plant is about 21 centimeters tall. So it has not gotten any shorter, but it has not grown any bigger, and I'm gonna say that this plant is probably not going to get any bigger. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. Number 4 is our really cool royal purple plant. This is what our royal purple plant looks like. It's actually one of the only ones that's growing up and down. And it kind of looks like the letter Y to me, which is very interesting. The bottom, the base of the stem is still that really cool purple color like we saw earlier this week. The leaves on this plant are also a combination of heart-shaped and triangle-shaped. We have one heart and it looks like 3 triangle-shaped leaves at the top. So go ahead for number 4 and do a quick picture of our royal purple. And while you're working on your picture, I'm going to measure, and our royal purple plant is 35 centimeters tall. So next to number 4 and your picture for the royal purple, you can write 35 centimeters. All right, let's move on to number 5. Make sure I find the right one. Number 5 is our big kahuna. The leaves seem to have wilted on most of our big kahuna plants, but they still seem to be doing okay, and they're growing at the top. So even though those big ones are a little bit wilted right here, at the top I still have 3 kind of wing-shaped leaves, and also what looks like the beginning of some other new leaves. This one is kind of growing in a curved manner as well. So go ahead for number 5 and do your quick picture for our big kahuna. And while you finish your picture, I'm going to measure. Our big kahuna is 33 centimeters tall. So doing pretty good, but it is not the biggest anymore, even though its name makes it feel like it's the biggest. All right, last but not least, we have our golden wax. This one isn't quite as big, but it is really pretty because it almost grows straight up and it supports itself. It kind of looks like a lowercase t to me. The leaves on the side look more like a heart, and the leaves on the top look more like wings, and it has a whole bunch of leaves on this plant. Go ahead for number 6 and draw your picture of the golden wax. All right, and when you finish your pictures, I'm going to go ahead and measure. Our golden wax plant is 28 centimeters long. So only grew 1 centimeter this week, but that's okay. I think the leaves on this one almost look the healthiest. So next to number 6, you can write 28 centimeters. All right, that's all 6 of our plants for this week. Next week is the last week for our project, so we will find out the answer next week.